Dude, hi, if you open this video, you've probably already asked yourself this question. Can I really change my life with my thoughts? I mean, can I achieve a better future just by thinking? A happier, more successful, more peaceful life? Is it really possible? Or are these nice sounding but empty words? Today we're going to fill in the blanks with you. But let's be clear from the beginning. Life doesn't change just with phrases like, think positive, good things happen. But it's also clear that your life doesn't change without changing the way you think. Because whatever you focus on, you reproduce. Whatever you think about, you get into a mood accordingly. That mood affects your decisions. And those decisions determine your habits, your relationships, your environment, and ultimately the direction of your life. Here's an example. If you wake up in the morning and you start thinking, today is going to be another crappy day, that's not just a sentence. It's like wearing a pair of glasses that pre-filters the bad things that are going to happen to you all day long. When you look through those glasses, you don't even see the good opportunities. On the same day, someone who starts with a different thought can interpret the same events completely differently. Because thoughts are like glasses. It either darkens or brightens your life. The power of thought is not a magical weapon as some people claim, but it is a foundation that quietly shapes your life. Because whatever a person thinks about all the time, after a while he starts to live accordingly. Someone who constantly says to himself, I can't do it, really has a hard time getting started, because that thought chains himself before the action. His self-confidence is broken, his courage is broken. Then he looks back at his life and says, I am already unlucky. However, consciously choosing thoughts is like turning a new page every day. This does not mean that life is rosy, but it does mean that you can decide how to respond to whatever comes your way, without rejecting the difficulties, but without giving up. This attitude changes the direction of your life over time. We should not forget this, buddy. The power of thought is not just sitting alone and daydreaming. For it to really work, thought has to turn into action. So you can't just say, I want to be successful. What are you going to do? What steps are you going to take? Thinking about it, planning it, and slowly implementing it. That's how the real change starts. The reason we are talking about this in this video is not to sell you miracle promises. Just to show you this truth. Your thoughts guide your emotions. Your emotions shape your behavior, and your behaviors become habits over time. And habits make you who you are. And before you know it, years later your life is shaped by those little thoughts. If you are watching this video now, it means that deep down inside you are looking for a change. Maybe it's to be more disciplined, maybe it's to be more hopeful, maybe it's to live more planned. Whatever it is, this change starts with a decision. And this decision is first made in the mind. That's why at the end of this video I'm going to give you a few small but effective practices. Simple things that anyone who really wants to use the power of thought in the right direction can incorporate into their lives. But first, if you've watched this far, stop and ask yourself a question. What kind of person am I right now? And what thoughts brought me here? Your honest answer to this question will prepare you for the next step. Have you ever asked yourself, why do I always think about the bad possibilities? For example, you want to start a business, but the first thing that goes through your mind is, what if I can't do it? What if I mess up? What if I'm not going to succeed anyway? And you feel demoralized before you even start. Let me tell you something very clear. These thoughts are not your character, they are traces of your past. So you were not born like this. You learned these voices over time. When you were little, the way the people around you talked to you, that's how you formed your inner voice over time. If you were in an environment that told you, be careful, don't make mistakes, it would be shameful if you do wrong, you would always say that to yourself when you grow up. You can't, be careful, what will people say? So when you talk to yourself, you are actually repeating the voices you have heard for years. That's why sometimes you don't feel like you've done anything but you feel tired. Because your brain is constantly scanning for threats without you realizing it. And this immobilizes you. This is not laziness, it's defense. The mind is trying to protect you, but without realizing it, it is imprisoning you. For some of us, this voice is a little louder. For example, fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of ridicule. But strangely enough, what we fear usually doesn't happen to us. Even if it doesn't, we live with that fear all the time. And as we live with that fear, we fight against obstacles that don't really exist. So how do we break this chain? The first step is, not everything the mind says is true. The mind speaks. But you don't have to listen to everything it says. Recognize those, you can't, you're too late, sentences coming from inside you, but don't give in to them. Noticing a thought doesn't mean you have to give in to it. Second step, question your negative thoughts. For example, when you say, "I can't do this," ask yourself the following question. Really, what do I have to back this up? If you write this down, you will see that most of the time the answer is, actually, I've never even tried. So the problem is not being able, it's not trying. And this is something you can completely control. Step 3. Retrain your inner voice. It may sound strange, but it's true. The inner voice is like a muscle. Just as it gets stronger if you train it regularly, so it is here. Instead of the thoughts that drag your mind down every morning, you can say to yourself, "I'm going to try today. Everything doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm going to start." Even this simple sentence can change the course of your day. Remember, buddy, your thoughts are not your destiny. But if you never touch your thoughts, over time they will act like your destiny. And one day your life will be built on those old sentences without you realizing it. The way to break this chain is to live with a little more awareness every day, asking, "What am I thinking right now?" And if that thought doesn't support you, change it. Nobody suddenly becomes a positive person, but no one suddenly becomes hopeless either. Everything is created through repetition. If you change how you talk to yourself every day, little by little, over time, the voice inside you changes. And when your voice changes, your perspective changes. When your perspective changes, even the direction of life changes. This is not magic. It's labor, but it is possible. Okay, now you are looking at yourself a little more carefully. You are noticing your thoughts, catching the negative ones and slowly trying to transform them. That's great, but so far, it's just internal preparation. The question is, what are you going to do now? Because thought generates intention, but without action, that intention is just a sketch in your head. And unfortunately, intention without action becomes a burden over time. As the thought of, "I have to do it," swirls in your mind, and you don't act on it, you start to get angry with yourself. Remorse, regret, guilt. This is why it is imperative to turn thought into action at some point. So where to start? The smallest place. Not big goals, but small beginnings. For example, if you want to write a book, saying, "I will write 100 pages, will suffocate you. But saying, "I will write 5 sentences today, will mobilize you. Don't minimize your intention, but simplify your step. The brain likes finished work. So as soon as you say you have finished something, there is a feeling of satisfaction. That feeling prepares you for the next one. That's why the first thing anyone who wants to build a habit should do is this. Start small, but do it regularly. If you have a goal, create a system to achieve it. What is a system? A daily repetition. Set a time. Set a place. Set a duration. For example, every day at 10 o'clock, for 20 minutes, I'll write at my desk. It's that clear. The brain doesn't like uncertainty. If you say, "I'll write sometime, I'll work when I feel inspired," you'll be late. Because inspiration likes order. And I'll tell you what, buddy, don't be too hard on yourself. Some days you won't succeed. Some days you won't have the motivation. But remember, you don't have to feel perfect to keep going. You don't have to feel ready to start. Just do something, now, even if it's small. Read a page. Write a paragraph. Work for 5 minutes. Just start. People who start complete. People who wait get tired. And there is another very important thing. Your environment. Do you realize how the people around you affect you? If you are surrounded by people who constantly complain and say, "No way, forget it," no matter how well-intentioned you are, it will be difficult for you to take steps. So build a support system. It can be a friend, a diary, a planner. But make it something that holds you accountable. Because alone, it's easy to give up. And remember, buddy, man lives what he thinks, but not only as long as he thinks. He lives as long as he practices what he thinks. What you do today, tomorrow is built on it. Life is the sum of small steps. And if you take that step, no matter how small, you are no longer the same person. You are no longer just a thinker, you are a doer. And that difference changes everything over time. That's why the power of thought is not just something in the head. It becomes real power when combined with behavior. Now, buddy, if you're ready, let's move on to the fourth and last part. That's where we're going to talk about this. How do you sustain this process? Today you are motivated, you started, but what if tomorrow you give up again? In the last part, we will talk about how to build persistence, stability, patience and self-confidence. If you're ready, I'll move on now. You've taken the first step. You started, even if it was small. Now the important thing is to keep going. Because the real problem for most people is not to start, but to keep going. That's why let's talk about some real steps that will ensure persistence. First one, stability is stronger than motivation. Motivation comes and goes. You watch a video, you get fired up. But after 2 days that feeling is gone. but stability is acting without waiting for motivation to come and go. In other words, even if you don't feel like it, even if your mood is low, you say, I'm going to do it again today. And this is not by willpower, but by habit. To create the habit, you just need to repeat the same action at the same time every day. 20 days, 30 days. It becomes a part of you. Secondly, learn to recognize yourself instead of judging yourself. Didn't do it one day. Don't immediately say, I can't do it anyway. Think like this. What happened today that didn't work? Were you tired, unplanned, distracted? Realize this and just learn a lesson. Blaming yourself will slow you down, but recognizing yourself will make you stronger. Third, remind yourself often. Why are you doing what you are doing? Why did you set out on this journey? Write it down. Write it on your phone screen. Hang it by your bedside. Because the more you forget, the more you give up. If you keep your goal in front of you every day, you won't go astray. Fourth, celebrate your small successes. Did you miss a day? Make yourself a nice cup of tea. Did you stick to your plan for 3 days? Praise yourself. This is not childish, but rather a conscious method. You send a message to your own brain. What you are doing is important. Fifth, evaluate daily. At the end of each day, take 2 minutes and ask yourself, what did I do well today? What could I have done better? These small reckonings make you grow. Over time, you start to look at things more consciously. And most importantly, even if you give up, you learn to start again. Because, dude, the point is not to never fall. The real issue is to know how to get back every time you fall. Human beings can forget, get tired, quit. But if he develops a recurring consciousness, that person is different now. He has taken the steering wheel of his own life. He is no longer drifting, he is steering. Finally, let me say this, it's not the big decisions that change your life, it's the small steps repeated every day. And you can do it. Because if your thinking changes, your perspective changes. If your outlook changes, your behavior changes. And if your behavior changes, your life changes. It is not a dream, it is a process. It takes patience, effort, consistency. And now we come to the last sentence. If you watched this video and somewhere you said, yes, I want to change too, then welcome to us, buddy. Because on this channel, there are steps, not words. Real development, no exaggeration, no lies. I want to accompany you on this path. Brain, if this video was good for you, press the like button, write your thoughts in the comments, say, I'm on this path too, and subscribe and turn on notifications, because more to come. Take care of yourself, brother. We are here for a stronger you in the next video.